Hey there, Capstone family. Back in November, the very beginning of November of 2024, we had our Advance the Kingdom update, and we know that not everyone was able to be there. So we wanted to take a few minutes just to share. We shared that night, but then also to kind of give you a schedule of where we're going, what you can do as partners and Capstone family members, and just get an update from where we were and how we started in 2022 and where we are going heading into 2025. So let me read Jeremiah 29:7, a verse that is a part of our culture here. It says, "But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." So this has always been a part of our heart. The idea that when we started Capstone, it wasn't the idea that we could do church better. It was that we were being called to do church different. And so with that, our goal has never been to build a big church that just got a bunch of people to hang out on Sunday morning, but truly was this vision to bless our city and that we would be able to seek the welfare of the city and point people to Jesus along the way. Back before 2020 and COVID and the world went crazy and shut down, we saw on the horizon the growth of Fountain Inn and the growth of Capstone. And so we saw what God was doing. And so we went ahead and made a master plan that if God we won the lottery, we had all the money in the world, what would we do with these 5 acres? And so we created this master plan of here at 601 Fairview Street. And so in 2022, we began to ask the question, we wanted to proceed with that master plan, and the first phase of that really had 2 parts. One was that we were going to be moving our parking lot because the master plan had where our current parking lot was the first expansion. So the idea that the phase 1 would be that we would move every inch of dirt on our campus here, and then the second part we would reshape where we did worship, and we would create a new lobby to connect the existing building, and then a gymatorium where we would move adult worship into. And so you might be asking, why would we do a gym? Why wouldn't we build a sanctuary? And so one of the things that to seek the welfare of the city is the idea that recreation has kind of always been a part of something we've been engaged in. And so we looked at the needs of our community. Fountain Inn has 1 gym, is built in 1991, and the population then was 4,000. That is still the only city-owned gym, and our population is now 12,000. And we've seen recreation be an amazing tool to be a part of the harvest. It's an amazing place of space where it brings our community together racially, economically. Whether you've been a lifelong FIer or you're new to FI, it's fertile ground for the gospel. And so we continue to see recreation to be a part of that. So a lot of times when there's a need in our community, we hold up binoculars and we say, hey, who's going to fix some of these issues? Who's going to fix that we need another gym? Who's going to do all these? And so we held up a mirror and we said, hey, what can we do to fix the problem in our community? So for us, naturally, we saw recreation as a way that we've been sharing the gospel, and we saw recreation was a need in our community. So we said, hey, we need more space to worship, and the city needs more space for recreation. So that's why we landed there. And so it wasn't just the idea of a gym, but it was the idea of a coffee shop, community playground, green space, classes for GED classes, and for foster parent classes, and for DSS visitation. And so the idea of truly transforming 601 Fairview Street into a community center that a church met at. And so at that time we were averaging about 250 to 275, and the price tag came at right about 4.5 million. We rounded up to 5 million. So in 2022, we presented this dream of phase 1 of moving our parking lot, reshaping our campus here, and then the addition of the gymnasium. And so our Capstone family committed over $800,000 over 36 months. And so that's how we started, and you guys were faithful, and that allowed us to begin in September of 2023 on the first phase of that, which meant removing our parking lot and then building a new parking lot. It just wasn't a parking lot; it was new parking, but drainage, retention, sidewalks, landscaping, reshaping our entire campus to be able to prepare for what God was going to be doing when we were ready to go vertical. So that ended up costing us $1.2 million. And the idea was that this changed the complete feel and look of our campus. And so we saw fruit immediately from people noticing Capstone more and seeing cars out front. And so we were able to see how that looked. And so as we were able to do that, we were continuing to walk in faith. And so you guys continue to give, you guys continue to tithe. And so we were able to do all that and ultimately pay it off. So we were able to pay for the $1.2 million parking lot, and that was paid off by 2024. So in April of 2024, we looked at our contractors who are P&F, and we said, all right, we need updated prices on now adding on. And so they updated us, all right. It had increased by 20%. So the building itself, remember the original whole vision was $5 million for parking lot and building. Well, about 2 years after that, so we started that in 2022, and now in 2024 of April, the spring, just the building was going to be $6.5 million. So we said, we don't have $6.5 million. And the architect said, well, we could kind of trim some things here and there. And I was like, no, we're not trimming, we're amputating. So they went back to the board of redesigning and said, hey, we need to get this back down closer to really a $4 million budget. That's kind of what we had our eye on. So in August of 2024, the architect had done some redesigning. The contractor had come back and looked over for more updates. And so we had to shrink down the original gym that was 19,000 square feet down to 16,000 square feet. And so the total price of the expansion and renovation of a coffee shop that we would add into our current double stuff area, that was coming now to a $5.3 million. Now, they took $1 million, a little bit more of the $1 million off, but we were still far from our $4 million kind of window that we felt comfortable with. Now we're going to hit pause right here because we're going to kind of take a detour. So we had been planting the seed for many years, just knowing this was a God-sized vision of anyone who wanted to partner with us, and anyone who would say, yeah, we would love to partner with you and make a kingdom investment in what you guys were doing. So one of those partners came to us in about this time of August 2024, and it was FCA Sports. And so they had been looking and dreaming about a FCA facility, a place where they could do practices and tournaments. And so we began to have a conversation. We went back to the bigger version. They were like, hey, we can't afford this, but if you guys come alongside of us and invest some, maybe this is something we could talk about. As we talked more, they decided they needed something larger to invest millions of dollars in. And so they came to us and said we would actually need a bigger space. And when we looked at it, it was going to be about 27,000 square feet. And we said, well, we need to make sure it fits on our site, and we need to see what the cost would be. So it did fit on the site, and we redesigned the site to get what they were looking for, to partner with us. And then the contractor came back and said, yeah, that's going to cost us about $8.5 million. So we came back and said, hey, Capstone is investing $4.5 million, and FCA would be investing $4 million. As they talked to their leadership, they felt like that was a little too much for their investment in a facility they didn't own. And so they decided it was a little too much for them. So they decided not to partner with us. Right? Well, why are you telling us this? We want you guys to know that whenever God opens up a door, or ever God, He gives us a path, we followed it. And so if there is someone who's interested in sharing or talking with us about this mission and vision, we have taken the time to do that. So that put us back about 6 weeks in our timetable. And we don't really know why. We trust the Lord that His ways are higher than our ways. So that was a little detour that God sent us on this fall in 2024. So that leads us now to where we are in November of 2024. So that puts us back at that $5.3 million building that we've redesigned. We removed our second story offices. We brought those downstairs. We removed some storage and some classrooms on the side to kind of get it down to 5.3. So we didn't feel like we could cut anything else. So we broke it up into what was the renovation side, which was the existing building, which is mainly the coffee shop and a new check-in area in our current lobby. Then to the expansion side. So the facility side, the renovation side was about $600,000, and the expansion side was going to be about $4.6 million. And so we decided to begin to think about, hey, how can we just focus on the side of expansion? So that leaves us with finding a coffee shop who would be okay with doing upfit, and then finding some other resources to update some limited updates in our existing facility. So let's talk about budget-wise. So when we started this in 2022, the original budget looked like this. To break it down, we would save $1 million, we would raise $1 million, and then we would receive a loan for $3 million. So we had $800,000 committed, and as of right now, of that $800,000, we have already surpassed $600,000. So we are on track to go $1 million. Like that is, we're on track for that. And then savings-wise, we are over $700,000 that we've saved. Now, majority of that $1.3 million went to pay off. Our parking lot. Now that leaves us with the idea of this $4 million. And so, well, if we look on just the expansion side, we're going to need an extra $500,000. So our new budget, which we thought was going to be just a $4 million for the building, we're upping to $500,000 just focusing on the expansion side of things. And so we're really close. And just to be honest, this is where we kind of come to a fork in the road where we've got to say, all right, are we going to stop here and wait till we have another committed $500,000? Are we going to operate in faith? And so our elders and leadership have decided to move forward in faith. We've always said that this was a God-sized vision, and God-sized vision don't come with a lot of certainty. So we know there's a fine line between faith and insanity, and we're trying to walk that. And you'll hear about, as we get to a timeline, there is an off-ramp that if something happens or we don't get the resources where we can kind of jet off. But right now, we're going to be pursuing moving forward in our plan. So let's talk a little bit about our scheduling. So scheduling wise, currently where we're at, we are in the design development phase. So we're finalizing doors and windows and flooring and paint and what the stage is going to look like and all those good things that go with design. And so that'll take us all the way into February 2025. So we'll finalize the design in January or February. Then the plan is to start construction drawings. And construction drawings are really the blueprints that are going to build the building. So then it goes to structural engineers, electrical engineers, HVAC, foundational systems, and so they'll go and they'll put all that together, and that'll be done by May. In May, we would begin to file for permitting. So then it'll go to Greenville County and Fountain City, and they'll make sure that everything's to code, and they'll make sure everything's good. And so it makes that it's safe, passes inspection, and is up to code. So we still haven't built anything at this point once we get into the summer. So in the summer, we'll get into pricing, which will give us a much more definite cost, and then we'll have to sign a construction contract. And this is where our off-ramp is that if we get to this point and something's happened in the economy or giving isn't where it needs to be or whatever it might be, that's kind of a say, hey, we can have the drawings, we can have the permitting, and we can kind of pause right there until we do get the funding or we get the pieces that we are in need. And so, but if everything works out with building and permitting and funding and we stay on schedule, we would break ground in August or September of 2025. So that's Capstone, we would get started. And then the goal would be 9 months, which would put us, if everything went perfect and weather, which never really happens, but miracles do happen, that we could be done in April 2026, which Easter is right around there. So that's our prayer is, man, we would love to celebrate Easter 2026 in this new facility. So this is the schedule if we had the money in the bank right now. That's the schedule if we're operating in faith. So we are operating in faith at this point, and so we're moving forward in that. So here's where we're going to tell you kind of next steps of what we need from you guys. The first is this, is that we need prayer. Everything starts with prayer. And this is one of the reasons we're telling you this, is to say, hey, this is how you guys can be praying for us as a Capstone community and family. And so the understanding of what God's doing here, that what started 100 years ago with Fairview St Baptist Church, with a merger 10 years ago of two families coming together, but now with the expansion here at 601 Fairview Street. And so the idea is that we want you guys to be joining us in prayer. And whether you were here in 2022 or you've just come in the last 2 months, it's that you would begin to pray for us and what God's doing. Some of you guys are here, just to let you guys know, because we prayed for you. 2 years ago, we said we can't do this by ourselves. We can't do this with just the 200 people who are here. And you guys are here because we prayed for more workers. We prayed for more missionaries in our city. We prayed for those who are lost and who are now found in a part of our Capstone community. So you're here because somebody prayed for you. And we want to continue to pray for that. We know that there are more people who are going to come be a part of our church before we ever build this. We know there are going to be more people who are going to come to know the Lord in that. And so prayer is where that started. And so we really, really, really desire that you would put this at the top of your list and go, man, how can we continue to advance the kingdom through blessing our city here at 601 Fairview Street? The second thing we need you to do is continue to tithe. And it's the idea that Capstone is saving $1 million because we're taking the tithes and offerings, a monthly savings. And the way we came up with that number is we have the number that is going to be for a mortgage for $3 million, which is $20,000 a month. And so right now, we are putting away $20,000 a month out of our tithes and offerings and putting that into savings. So we can already pay our mortgage. And so the biggest part is going to be able to get into the building. Once we get in there, we feel really comfortable about being able to pay that mortgage. But that doesn't happen without your tithes and offerings coming in on a monthly, weekly basis, however you see fit. So continue to give. And if you haven't started giving, that's where you would start in the idea that you would be able to support through your giving and the able that we could keep being able to save that to get us to that $1 million savings part. The last part is commit. In 2022, our Capstone family sacrificed and we prayed and we began to say, hey, what is the number that God's putting on us to commit to for the next 36 months? And our Capstone family has been faithful to that. That puts us over $600,000, which puts us at over $1 million to do that. But we also know that many of you are not here in 2022. And so we would love for you to pray about that. We would love for you to begin to go, hey, what can we sacrifice in the next 12 to 15 months to commit to that and put that towards advance the kingdom, separate of your tithes and offerings. Your tithes and offerings are the first thing that we give. And then on top of that, we're going, hey, what can we give and sacrifice for in that? And so we would love, there's green cards in the gathering in the back of your seat backs and also at the bridge where you can grab those and just put that in your Bible. You as a family talk about it and begin to say, hey, how can we do that? And our goal is that by the end of the year that we would have 50 of those advance the kingdom commitment cards turned in. So new commitments coming in from new families and new folks who are not a part of the original in 2022. So in short, here's kind of the summary. If you've forgotten about over this last 15-minute video what I said. First, that we've reduced the size. So we went from a 19,000 square foot addition to a $16,000 addition, to a 16,000 foot addition to be able to fit the budget. We're focusing on the expansion over the renovation. So we're going to have to find a coffee shop who wants to upfit that we won't be able to do that. And so it may stay empty for a while. We're continuing to pray about what that looks like to partner with somebody who wants us to create that environment. And then also that we still need another $500,000 to meet that $4.5 million budget that God has put on our heart to be able to do that. So if all these pieces fall together, that in the next 9 months, that we would be able to break ground in August or September of 2025. That's where we're at. And so that is your Advance the Kingdom update. If you have any questions or you have any thoughts or any concern, please, we love to have and to share our vision. If there needs some more explanation of why we're doing what we're doing and the strategy, and we'll be really honest, it's a unique strategy. There are not a lot of churches with this model. There are a few, but we love being out in front, and we love to be a model. As God put this on our heart again, it wasn't the idea that we could do church better, but we would do church different. And creating a community center that a church meets in to allow our building and our space and our campus to be used 7 days a week is a top priority for us as we seek the welfare of the city. So if you have any questions about giving, if you have any questions about our process, if you have any questions about our timeline, please talk to me or Chris, our executive pastor, or any of our elders, and we would love to have that conversation. So thank you for your partnership. Thank you for what you mean to our Capstone community, and continue to shine bright as missionaries where you work, learn, live, and play.